It is exactly 12 o'clock, and today we are going to have the continuation of last week's local food purchasing webinar. And so we have three speakers today. We have Lynn Policastro, and she is going to go over the decision-making tree that I tried to break down last week. But again, Lynn is going to go over it today, and she's going to talk about it from a center's perspective that had under 50 children, and then a group that had over 50. And then we have Caroline Stover, our program manager, and she's going to go over the fresh produce tool. And then we have Julie Sutterman, who's also going to talk about CACFP, and she's with the DHHS with us today. So I want to thank everybody for that. But before we get started, and here's today's agenda. But before we get started, I need everybody to unmute yourselves, and I need to see your faces really quick, if you don't mind. Mia, can you stop screen share so I can see everybody's face real quick? All right, can everybody turn themselves on for me?
Hello.
Hi, Caroline.
Hey, everybody.
I just try to get everybody to unmute yourselves and also to screen share your faces today. Today is a special day and I cannot let it go by. It is the behind the scenes girl's birthday and we love her so much, and we have to tell Mia Murphy happy birthday, and we just thank you for everything. I love you, Mia. Mia has moved and is in Pennsylvania, believe it or not, working behind the scenes for all of this and has been doing this for about a month or two now. So we could not do what we do at Farm to ECE without you, Mia. You have a wonderful day. We love you. So if everybody could just tell her happy birthday. Thank you so much.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday,
Mia.
Happy
birthday.
Thank you, guys. All right, so we will start with our screen share again, and then I'll turn everything over to Lynn. Thanks, Lynn.
Thank you. Excuse me. I'm excited to be with you guys, and I see a lot of familiar faces, so please stop me if you have questions, because some of this you guys have probably heard, and you might be thinking about it differently, and have tried things and those kind of things, and want to know some answers. So we're going to go over the decision tree a little bit. So if you don't mind switching, thanks, Mia. And it looks like last week you guys talked about this a little bit, but I just want to kind of a quick little review of how this works, which is just a wonderful tool. And I'll just share from my own experience that we found was people were really struggling with what was important to them. And how to even go about doing this. It seemed a little overwhelming, and it just seemed like, what do I want to get out of serving more fresh local food? And so this just really kind of helped people put in perspective, like what it was that was important to them. So just a little bit of review. So the top portion in the red is kind of, where you are as a center, where a center is, are they already serving some fresh food? Is everything already, are they still serving everything from a can? Have they even thought about local? Are they serving any local? So where are they when it comes to, actually thinking about serving fresh food, and then the local piece on top of it. So it also has to do with, do you have a regular person in your kitchen? Do they have the skills they need to actually prep more? So all of that is something for a center to really think about, where are they in this scheme of things of being able to do this. And then the green level is really looking at their needs, their capacity, and their preferences. So what that means is that, the needs are, one, are they ready? They've already kind of started serving fresh, and they really want to think about, looking at more local to really put back into their own economy. So is that where they are? Is that the need that they want to get from this? Do another need maybe yes, I want to do this and I really want to do the local piece, but I kind of want to have a personal connection to all of this. So I want to know where my food is coming from. I love to have a farmer that, he drops it off, she drops it off. that not only do they bring the food, but there's also maybe some other connections, like possibly that they on their off time can help with their gardening, maybe some parent activities, those kind of things. So that's a need that, as you're thinking about this, like that might be something that you want to get out of this. And then I heard other people say like, okay, I really want to serve the fresh local food, but like, I can't handle anything else. Like I can't handle another purchasing agent. I need this to be as streamlined as possible based on what I'm already doing. So how can I use the purchasing sources that I'm using and get some fresh food and get some local food? So that's a need that they have. Capacity has a lot to do with it too. So if it's a small program, you may be limited on the sources that you can use, because some of these, they have a minimum that they have that they will deliver for. So if you have a really small center, you're not purchasing enough that the delivery works out for you individually. So maybe you think about like, oh, I need to be connected to another center if this is what I want. Like we have a drop-off point or like multiple centers that we can drop off. And then preferences. And this, I always have to say that one of the funniest things when I was working with homes, that one of their big preferences is they actually wanted to choose the food. Like, so they wanted to touch it. They were used to doing that because, I think of like homes as obviously a little bit more of a family kind of atmosphere. And they think, not that big centers don't think of all their families as, a big extended family, but even more so for a family childcare home. So one of the things that a lot of my homes were like, no, I don't want somebody to pick out my food for me. Like I'd rather go to the farmer's market and pick it out myself. So like little things like that, so helping them really think about like what it is that they prefer to get out of this, and that's going to make it easy for them and make them actually be able to do this process. And then the blue is all the different types of options. And I always like to share this because, and many of you guys have probably heard this, but when we first started this project, one of our goals was to figure out the one, maybe two best ways to be able to purchase local food in our community. And as we started doing this, our list only got bigger instead of smaller. We realized that, again, it depended on what people wanted, where they were with things, like what did they want to get out of this and how did it make it easier for them to do it? So this is where we came up with all these different options of choices. So we're going to go through these a little bit. If you'll, the next slide, please. So I'm going to show just two examples, and I know this is extremely small to see, but I just kind of wanted for you guys to see like how they kind of walk through this. And I'm going to show you two different programs in our area that have kind of walked through this process and figured out what they wanted for this. And I will say that even from like this time, they've changed a little bit, like how they've done some stuff. So we're going to walk through that, and then we're going to go over some pros and cons of all these different options. So this center, which many of you guys are very familiar with, and Kim's very involved in all of this work, is a safe place. And so they actually have two locations, and this is one of their locations, and this is the location that they actually cook from. So they cook at this location and they serve it to both of their centers from this one location. So this center has about 40, and the other one has, I think, about 30, maybe a little bit smaller, but a total, it's not quite 100 children that they're serving. And so as they started thinking about this, I will say that, so first of all, this center, A Safe Place, was actually doing, one of their goals way back when was to cut their can buying. So they were serving a lot of fresh food already. That was really a goal of theirs. So they made that a priority. So that made it easier to think about the local piece of it. So they were serving this, and then they also wanted the personal connection. So they really thought, this is important to us. We really want to know where the food's coming from. We like to have, that piece of it. And so then they started thinking about like, so is it something that we can move? Like, so how frequently can we do this? That's another big question. So is it something like, oh, we can only serve snacks, that like maybe that's where we are, like maybe all the fresh local food actually goes into our snacks. We're not quite ready to do it on a bigger size. this center was ready to do that. They were ready to move to like basically all of their meals, being able to serve it pretty regularly. And they do something fresh local almost daily. And many days it's many products that they use on a regular basis. And so that was one of their choices. So as they thought about it, they like, okay, so I want this, I want the personal touch. We want to serve a wide variety of foods, and we want to serve it on a pretty regular basis. So when it came down to it, they were open to having more, being able to purchase from several different locations. Like, so they realized like they loved the farmer connection, and they found a farmer that they were working with, but most of what he was being able to offer was just vegetables. So of course they wanted to serve some fruit too. And he was occasionally able to get that, but not enough. So then they realized like, oh, let me look at these other options. So they looked at a food hub as well that, and they started purchasing some of their other food and a lot of their fruits through the food hub. And then what they had already started and have expanded tremendously over this time period is their own site garden. And so they not only is it an educational opportunity, but they actually source a lot of their food. I think last year, it was like 700 pounds worth of food. They do like a salad bar every afternoon. So most of it comes from their own garden. They source a lot of their own food. So again, they looked at what was important to them, knew they couldn't do it all, but they were open to like, oh, we're fine. Like I don't care if I have to open up, more purchasing options. That was fine with them. So as you can tell, they did multiple things and that has worked for them. They've added different things. They've actually added different farmers. So it's more than one farmer that they're using. And they're actually occasionally using the grocery store for local food as well. So let me share a second one that looks quite a bit different. This is a larger center in our area, and they have close to 200 children. And so where they were when we started working with them is they were really, really struggling with finding someone in the kitchen. The director, the assistant director, somebody was always having to go back to the kitchen because they couldn't have a regular person. They were just struggling with keeping somebody in the kitchen. And so, but they were really bought into the idea of we really want to serve more fresh food. And they had some small gardens in the back, but that was more for educational purposes. So not a huge production of all of this. And so as the time went along, we really liked the idea of, because of our staffing situation, is more of a catering situation. So a centralized kitchen is what we have. And we here in Wake, it actually started in Durham with Childcare Services actually has several locations in there. And one of their locations is in Durham. And so they were serving, they were first up front willing to serve Wake County, and they weren't serving a huge amount at the beginning. And so we made some connections, and slowly what happened is they started serving from the Durham location. And then actually with some law changes, they actually they opened a small kitchen out of the Jordan Center. So not only are they serving Jordan Center, but they also are serving several locations in Wake County. So the centralized kitchen actually was in the child care program. So they were able to serve that program and then, build their business in Wake County as well to serve other locations and not have to drive from Durham. So that was a perfect mix for this program. And so they were able to have menus that they liked better, that provided more fresh local food without having to worry about a staff person that wasn't always going to be there. So again, those look extremely different. So I thought what we would do, and we can start with the next one, is actually walk through some pros and cons of all these different options. And again, like I said, there are so many different options. And really what works for the center, and maybe sometimes it's the county itself because there might not be as many options. But again, every center really, really needed something different and wanted to get something different out of this. So I'm just going to briefly walk through these options, and please put questions in the chat, or even it's a small group, so feel free to unmute yourself and ask questions about these. So the first option was a CSA box, which is and we have multiple different options here. This can be, so basically this is a box that comes from a farm. And so it is their way to be able to, a lot of farmers, small farmers do this as a service. So they actually, you pay a fee up front to be able to get a box of things that are delivered to you on a weekly basis. In Wake County, and I know other counties as well, but Wake County, we actually have several services that do multiple farms. So you're able to actually choose what goes in your box. So that can be a little different. That's actually can be a benefit. So one of the pros is that it's delivered to you, your program or your house, or on a regular basis. And it's a wonderful thing. And let me throw out that this is also a wonderful service, not only for the child care centers to use for themselves, especially if you want to start off small and you just want like some tastings, or even just use it for snacks, or family childcare homes really liked this option because it was a perfect size. But this also could be a service for your families. So you as a childcare program could be the drop-off location. So you really don't have to do anything more than that. You set up this with the CSA or the farmer or whatever group is using this. And then you as a center are just the drop-off box. The drop-off location. And families now have this, it's kind of amenity for them that they walk away on a Friday or whatever day with a box of fresh produce. And then there's just that fee for this box. So it's, it's always the same fee, that kind of thing. So it's pretty set. The cons are that it is a pretty small amount. And in a lot of these, you don't have a choice about what goes in the box. So some people didn't like that. They weren't very creative about, how to use these options. So again, I think some people and some of the groups in our area are going to the option of being able to actually choose what goes in your box. So that's kind of helpful. Let's go to the next option. So the farm direct, which a lot of people, when they think about farm to ECE and they think about this wonderful project, this is the first thing that they want. They think this is a wonderful option, is they want this farmer that comes to them. And there's so many, pluses to this, that you have that, that relationship. You're, really working with your local community and building your own capacity there. It's about as fresh as you can get because, it's local. It's, lots of times, if anything, it's coming, from a county besides you. So it's not going very far. You can learn more about and actually have a relationship about what the farmer is actually growing. If you have this relationship with them, that maybe they'll grow what, you're going to actually serve in your center. So, you have this personal relationship. It can be delivered to your site. And one of the cons is also that, pros is that it actually can be multiple. They can do like a farmer's market, or they can even have the CSA box. So one of our farmers who's actually up here, he delivered to the center for their weekly groceries. And their items. Then he did a monthly farmers market that was more of a community event. And then he also had the weekly CSA boxes that he dropped off for the families. So from his one, drop off location, he actually had 3 sources of income, which is what we really want to build. We don't want to build this where the farmers, it's not good for them. We really want this to be feasible for them as well. So really thinking through how this is going to work for the farmer as well. And so sometimes when I talked about the size of your center, this can be a downside, is that they need to have a certain amount that they deliver for it to be worth it to them. So if you're a small center, this might not be the option unless you're working with other programs, or you're doing some of these other options, like being able for them to sell to your families as well. So really thinking through some multiple options for this if you want to have a direct farmer. And so some of the cons too is that, again, as I mentioned earlier, they can be limited because they are only usually growing a couple of different things. They're not growing 20 billion things on their farm. And so unless they have connections with other local farmers, then it could be limited about what they offer to you. Again, the weather could really affect the crops. And one thing I like to talk about, which I don't always see as a con, but I put this on here, is that there are going to be blemishes and there's going to be imperfections because they're coming straight from the farm. They may be dirty. They may have a few little worms in the box because they're coming straight from the farm. They're not coming from, they're not going to the grocery store looking perfect. And that's okay. You're chopping them up, you're using them. They don't have to look perfect. And kids can be a part of the cleaning. There's all things that you could do to really come over that con. And then, unless you set some fee up front, the prices could really change based on a lot of factors, the season, what the weather was, what they have available. So the next option, please. Farmers markets and food stands. And this is a great kind of a great middle ground. So you, again, are going to have about as fresh as you can get because it's from local farmers. Again, and this option, you get to choose what you want because you're in a farmer's market. They usually have it right there. You pick it out, you put it in your basket, you hand pick the items. And again, you have the farmer, usually the farmer or somebody working on the farm is right there and they can share more information about this, what's being grown, when things are going to be available, all those kind of things. And if you're going to the same market, you're going to the same food stand, you can build a relationship with them. And again, they may grow different things based on what you would like to purchase. If they know it's a consistent, income for them, then of course, most of them are willing to do that because these farmers markets are not always a consistent income for them. So being able to work with groups like us is just a great way for them to get a consistent income. Again, one of the cons could be that, it's an extra trip. So if you don't have the time to do it, they're for the farmers market, they're most likely not going to deliver to you. You're going to have to go there. But many people have made this a field trip. Many people have started making, this is just one of the places that they purchase and they enjoy it. It's just like going to the grocery store for them. So they don't see it as like an extra thing to do. The varieties could really, vary sometimes, but then again, you could have more. So it really depends on where you're located. If it's a smaller stand, you might not have as much variety. And again, going back to the blemishes, we can talk about that. And then harder to buy some larger quantities of items because sometimes some of these smaller stands usually don't have the large quantities. But going back to building that relationship. So if you go to the same one all the time, then you're building a relationship with them and they probably have it, but that you just need to share how frequently you need it. So the next option, a food hub. I'm not going to go over all the pros and cons because this is some of the same things that we go through. I will share what a food hub is, and we're seeing more across the state, is that this is actually where multiple farmers come together. So they basically send their extra produce to a hub, and then the hub is the one that delivers it. So that really adds to the variety of food that you're able to do, but you're still able to have the delivery service. The next one, please. Grocery stores, which I will say that this, and obviously I don't think I need to go over the pros and cons of a lot of this. But here, and I've seen over the last couple of years that a lot of these grocery stores are really offering and highlighting what's local. So sometimes you have to do a little bit of searching, but a lot of them are starting to put, like, this is a Food Lion that put all their local and actually tell you which farm it's from all in one area. So you know what's available. So of course that's convenient. It's all right there. You're probably already shopping at this location. So many people are starting to do this as well. And then I think this is our last option. No, I think we have two more. A distributor. So let me just share that. So what was happening with a lot of my programs that didn't want a second purchasing agent, they were already using a distributor. They just had to start asking questions. So a lot of these companies offer local food, but you just have to ask the questions and say, oh, I want to serve this. So tell me what is available. And most of them are offering it. They just didn't think this group of people really wanted that food. So they weren't offering it when they were coming. So again, just asking the questions to your distributor. The next one, please. And we talked a little bit about the centralized kitchen when I talked about the Jordan Center. It's like a catering and it's, you know, and you're guaranteed, basically you just don't have any control over the menu. So it is delivered to you, it's already prepped. And you're getting that service and it's delivered to you already prepared. And then our last option is on-site gardens. So again, you can't get any fresher than having it right in your own play area and landscapes. So it's just being a part of it, the children being a part of the process, the families being a part of the process, and you're able to choose what you want to grow and the quantity that you want to grow. And so some of the cons could be, you know, the weather itself, learning how to grow this stuff and having staff that are committed to this. But this is a wonderful option, even if you're not growing enough to actually produce in your menu, that, you know, it can be a connector, even if you're just doing a pot. So it's connector to what you're serving on your plate and just helping that learning process and getting people and kids excited about eating fresh food. So I think that was my last option. Yes. So if anybody has any questions or thoughts about some of these options, I'll be glad. I don't know if we want to do that at the end. So we know we have time for everybody else.
Thank you so much, Lynn. I appreciate that. You came in right on time as always. And yes, we will continue to go on. And if you do have some questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat box. And Lynn will still be here so we can talk to her at the end as well. But now we have Caroline, our program manager for Farm to Early Care and Education, and she wanted to talk to you guys today about the fresh produce too. So Mia is going to go to the site, and Caroline just dropped the site. It looks like in the box, and she's going to navigate for you. Okay? Is that okay?
Every time I think, yeah, she saves my life all the time.
That's why we love
birthday
our
girl. Thank you. Yeah, I'm just so excited about this because so this is a link to our website. It's also on the Farm to Preschool Network website, but I'm really excited. It's a brand new resource, and we developed it in response to what programs in the past have asked for. So we call it the Fresh Produce Calculator. And essentially, you know, people have said, okay, we have this many students and we want to purchase fresh, insert produce here, right? Fresh broccoli, fresh cantaloupe. What does this mean? Like, how do you communicate that with farmers, right? So, you know I have to serve 50 children, but that doesn't mean anything to a farmer. But then like 50 pounds doesn't really mean much to a center director. So it's kind of like, how can we make these two worlds come together and speak the same language? So we created this calculator. So the link here is to our website that has the different calculators. And so there's an Excel document. Mia, can you just click that first? Thank you, perfect. It's an Excel workbook. So there's the guide instructions, and then there's a workbook for each age group. And then there's also a PDF, which has like normal increments, like 25, 50 already calculated for folks. But this is a resource, so I don't know if you could just make it a little bigger. I'm also on my laptop, so maybe I'll move it onto my big screen so that people can see a little bit. Yeah, let's jack it on up. Love it. Whoa, maybe a little less. Yes, so in partnership with CACFP, our dear friend Jen Kazachik, who is now in Florida soaking up some rays, she helped us put this together based on CACFP serving requirements. So it is not a CACFP resource. However, it is based on the different serving sizes that they require for children. So this is just going to be an example, and then I'll pass it off. But so let's say this is for 1 to 2 year olds. So let's say maybe make it a little bit smaller so we can see the whole row. Mia, if you don't mind. Sorry, I'm being very extra today. So yeah, a little bit smaller. So you can see that there's a place to enter. This is perfect. So let's do cantaloupe. All right, so we have diced cantaloupe. And let's say we have 35 1 to 2 year olds in our center. Mia's going to enter the number of servings, so that would be 35 children. And then out pops how many pounds of cantaloupe. Boom. So easy, right? I'm so excited about this. And so if you want to just scroll down at the different produce items. So this is all breakfast. So this is mostly fruit, strawberries, etc. So exciting. And it just out comes the number of pounds. And like, you know, you might be at the store and they might be like, oh, but how many containers is that? Blah, blah, blah. You know, it's easy to weigh at the store. And this is the language that farmers would talk anyway. So, you know, if you tell them a certain number of pounds, that's like the language that they would speak. And if you want to just go to the tabs on the bottom, the lunch and supper. So these are, you know, typical for lunch and supper produce. And then we've got, you know, like collard greens, that wouldn't be on your breakfast menu probably. And then snacks, that's right. And so I mean, there's just tons of different options. If there's one on here that you can't find, let us know, we'll add it in. Huge shout out to Jen's intern Chica as well, who's really super helpful in all these adorable pictures. So we hope this is really helpful. And again, there's also the PDFs that have it already calculated for 25 and 50, and just like a little bit easier to kind of see. I kind of like this version because you can be more precise and kind of look in there. There you go. So this is the amount to prepare for 5, 25, and 50. So great. Thanks, guys. I was just really, oh, good. Rochelle and Shelley. Yay. Oh, my gosh, Barbara. I just want to celebrate Barbara. This is so exciting. She reached out to US Foods. They were very helpful and said most local items offered June through October. How awesome. I mean, what a simple call, but like a hard step to like get ready to take, right? So it's really exciting that you did that, and we love hearing about it. And please do continue to share with us. Great. Thank you, Sharonda. I was excited to present that. So thank you.
You are more than welcome. And Natalie is saying that this is so great. She can't wait to share it with her providers as well. So everybody's excited about that, because now all you got to do is pop in a number and you're done. So that makes it a lot easier for centers. So thank you, Caroline, for sharing. And I know Julie Sunderman, she's getting ready to come on. Her face is here now, but she was also happy that you shared that with us today also, Caroline. So she may reference it, and that is fine. But I would like to introduce again Julie Sunderman, and she's an